Good morning. Welcome to Leading In with Anne this morning. For those of you who have not been here before, my name is Anne Ferguson, and I am an author. I am a mom. I'm a grandma. I am a personal mentor, and I am a mindset coach. So I think we're going to talk about mindset just a little bit, what that means. And today we're going to see if we can figure out what this abundance word actually is and find out if you have any of it in your life. Because I didn't think I did until I finally started looking around and figuring it out. So we're going to figure it out today. Right. Abundance. That is a buzzword that has been going on for years. I'm going to say 18 years. And this is the reason why. Because of the moment that I realized what abundance was. Or started to, anyway. Oprah had this author on 18 years ago. And there was a book called Simple Abundance. It was like a journaling book. And I remember sitting there going, I don't even know what that means. Okay? Abundance. When you can tap into this particular emotion, this experience, when you can allow yourself to have it, all sorts of things change. Like things attract like things. So if you have a lack mindset, like what that means is you think in not enoughs. There's not enough time. How am I going to get this much money? How am I going to... I don't have a relationship. I don't have love. I don't have any wisdom. My kids aren't what they're supposed to be for me. Everything is lack. I've got to fight through all the lack and make it all happen. Right? I want you to think about the word abundance for just a second. And pray. Hey God, open me up. That's what we're doing right now. I have, right now, a lack of quiet. That's what this is. But we're going to use that. We're going to pray. Open my heart. Oh, help me feel. Help me understand what abundance is. So, going into quiet. First of all, we do not need an abundance of guilt, shame, doubt, fear. If you feel those things, it's totally okay to feel them. Just go, hey, I see you, doubt. I see you, fear. I see you, imposter syndrome. That abundant thing is for everybody else. I mean, she doesn't even know my life. She doesn't know my struggle. She doesn't know how bad things are. How stressed I am, how many monsters are about to eat me up alive, especially with money. She doesn't know how many creditors are knocking at my door. She doesn't know how restricted I am with the cash flow or with friendships. She doesn't know. The truth is I do. I do know. I have learned, connected to something that brings me a feeling of abundance in all aspects of my life. But just so that we're clear, had my water shut off more than once. Power shut off. There was a point when my kids were little where I had to make a decision about, do I keep the power on or the gas on? So it was actually summer, and so I didn't need heat for the house. I chose to keep the water on because I could fill my pots with water and I could heat them up on the electric stove so that I could bathe my babies. So I know. I know the panic of food. I know the panic of not having medicine and not knowing where you're going to get it. I know the panic of car repairs. and being stuck. I used to, so funny because it's right here. 30 years ago, in this very spot, I used to work in these big buildings. I'll show you in a second. I used to work here, and I had 2 little babies, and I had a Toyota Corolla that was a 2-door with 2 little babies. And man, trying to get those 2 in the back seat was a hot mess. They were 1 and 2 because my first 2 babies are 11 months apart. And something happened. My husband changed out the radio in the car, and forevermore, I had to actually, it was like hit and miss about whether or not I was going to be able to start the car. It was not the alternator. It was not the starter, believe me. I know about those kind of car repairs. I know how to pull stuff from a junkyard even. Okay, so I would have to actually stick my foot outside of my car, make sure I was parked on a hill, and get it going fast enough that I could pop that clutch. And that's when my husband was back east and I was alone with 2 babies working full time. I know. I am so familiar with lack. So, I want to give you hope. Just for a second. Abundance is possible. It's actually around you now. We just have to connect with what that looks like. So, gonna go a little metaphysical on y'all, and scientific, because they've been able to actually take readings of this now. There is an electromagnetic energy that's around everything. Your emotions are actually energy in motion. And when you have an emotion, your heart, your body, whatever, sends it out. Can you tell when somebody walks in the room and they were not doing good? And it's not just their face, but you can feel it from their body. Yeah, it's because they're vibrating out. And it's just like a bunch of magnets, because it's an electromagnetic field. That makes sense, right? So if I have an emotion, then other things will attract that same emotion, so I can just increase. Why? Because there's freaking abundance everywhere. So there can be an abundance of sadness. There could be an abundance of lack. You ever thought that? Do you have an abundance of lack in your life? You already experienced an abundance. That's kind of funny, right? So, knowing what it feels like, even though the data around you does not support it. So, give you my story of abundance. First of all, let's set this thing up. I lived in a 1,300 square foot townhome. My best friend was living with me. There were 10 children in the house. So I had a lack of space. I had a lack of privacy. I had a lack of peace and quiet for sure. I was having a lack of being able to fold my laundry. Why? Because I had a 2-year-old who kept reaching into the basket, and every time I folded something, he would throw it out. So the goal was to get stuff folded faster than he could pull it out, or see if I could get his little ADD brain attached to some washcloths long enough for me to fold it before he decided he wanted something else. I was tired. Lack of sleep, lack of energy, lack of hope. Definitely a lack of money. At this point, there was a lack of love, there was a lack of support, there was a lack of friendship. And I'm listening to Oprah, and she's talking about simple abundance. And I remember saying to myself, abundance, I don't even know what that is. Whatever. That was it. That was all the contemplation I could even give to it. That was for other people. Actually, no, the friend had left. Ooh, memories kicking in. The friend had left. We had 10 children in our house, depleted our finances. She left with her 5. I still had 5. And sitting there, and I used to work at a dance studio. And gas was really high. It's so much like it is right now. It was not good. Gas was really high, and I drove a Suburban because I had so many kids. And it took a lot of money to fill up that car. And I would really, actually, most of the time, I would pray for $20. I had to go pick up my kids from school. My husband controlled all the finances. I had lack of resource because he blocked me from a bunch of accounts, and there's some shady stuff going on. So I would ask God every couple of days for $20 just to get the kids from the school. I didn't need to go much. I taught dance at night, and so I had a little bit of cash that would come in once a month. Well, tank was empty, coming home from dance. I had received my check the day before, and I'd cashed it. So I had the cash in my hand. I, a lot of times, would hide cash so that when the water got shut off, because my husband was in charge of the finances, and it got turned off again, and maybe he was traveling, I could keep it on for my babies. And so I was always worried about what I could, spending things, because I never knew what emergency was going to come up that I was going to need to spend money on. So there was a lack of predictability. And I picked up the kids from dance. It was at night. It was dark. And I went into the gas station to pay. And I felt in my heart, fill the tank. And I'm like, oh, heck no. No. That's like $80 right now. I do not have $80. Now, some of you may have heard my story about picking up socks, where I found out what God's voice was to me. If you have not, go back and watch some of these videos, because it tells you kind of what the process is to learn his voice, and learn what he feels like. Well, I knew he was telling me, put that $80 in. And I'm like, no, absolutely not happening. And I felt horribly guilty when I said no. And I'm like, no, but it's not responsible. Like, I fight with the Lord, right? It's not responsible. And here, put $80 into that tank. And so I walk in, my heart is racing. I go to put 20, and I'm like, ugh! And I pull out the 80, and I throw it down, and I go back, and as I'm putting the gas in, I'm shaking. Can't breathe. Feels like too much. Like PTSD, danger. I got into the car and I looked at the tank, the reader, and it said full. I had not seen that needle on full forever. Months and months. And then I heard it. The next time I give you $20, I need you to put it on the top of the tank. Because you need to know that there is always enough somewhere. So my full gas was the reminder that somewhere in my life I had enough and abundance of something. My life was speeding around 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. So it's not like I was going on some kind of long trip or needed some massive journey. He just told me, I want you to feel, because I kept hearing the word abundance. After the Oprah thing, I kept shoving it away. I did take a moment. This is why this happened. I took a moment and I said, teach me. What is this abundance thing? Like, teach me. And I was kind of sassy about it, but at the same time, I actually really wanted to know what abundance was. And so that's what he did. When you ask God to teach you and you actually want to know, not, there's this abundance thing and I can't ever have it because you don't love me enough. I whined like that all the time. I'm not making fun of you. That was me. That was me talking to my old me. Things change when I say, teach me. And I say teach me with curiosity, not with victimhood. And not with Seth, fine, teach me. I've done that too. Sometimes he answers. But when I'm curious, like, I'm curious to know, what does abundance even feel like? What does it look like? I don't even know what this is. I'm kind of willing to experience it though. Right? Not with any feeling of lack that he won't. Only with the energy of curiosity and things like this happen. So now, we're going to go into your life. I would love for you to right now think of what in your life do you have plenty of? Because when your brain captures the places where there is more than enough and you sit in that, the vibration changes. I have enough of this and I have enough of that. And then the things that will bring you more abundance will actually show up, right? Because we have an electromagnetic field, emotions are energy charged with motion. It's all about energy. We start to attract stuff. All right, abundance. I'm gonna start. Are you ready? I never, ever, ever have to wonder whether there is going to be enough water in my toilet to flush it. Like, it's like magic. There's always enough water. And sometimes the toilet decides to crap out. But in my world, in my life, used to be lack right there, right? Sometimes my water gets shut off. But I would fill jugs of water knowing that it was coming because I didn't have enough money. And I would pour it into my tank so I still had enough. Okay, what about you? What is there enough of in your life? Right now, we have an abundance of a path. Like, I don't know how far this is gonna go. We're gonna have to turn around and get back to the car. But right now there's an abundance of places to walk. Now, this is different than gratitude. It is a recognition of how much you have. And when you find it, you get to do this little breath in. Okay, this is really important. If you want to increase your abundance, you always have enough air. So we're going to breathe that in. And we're going to tell our body, I want more of this feeling of enough. So, what else do you have enough of? According to my husband, I have an abundance of books.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I have an abundance of books. I love books. I love to read. I love to glean from other people. I love to let other people, like authors, mentor me. Because sometimes I got $15 and I don't have enough for a coach, right? So I have an abundance of books. Right now, okay, this was really weird. This was a mindset change for me. I have an abundance of support. It's actually kind of a newer thing for me to have so much support in just my everyday life. Like the things that I'm trying to do, there are people who care about it. So I have an abundance of support. And that is actually kind of new to me because I'm so independent and fiercely independent. I had to be independent because that's kind of what life was like and what I was taught. So I had an abundance of independence. It's not a bad thing. Independence is a good thing. And yet having lack of support because I was too independent is not balance. So I would really like you to know of something else you have an abundance of, whether you want to believe it, whether you can feel it or not, okay? I may trigger an abundance of guilt and shame. We're just gonna call it out and go, wow, I have an abundance of guilt. That's kind of fun. Have you ever thought of having an abundance of things that are not good? That is abundance? Okay. We can switch this around if you find the other abundances in your life. When you find your abundance, that is something that you would love to be abundant in, take a deep breath and say this. This is what I want more of. I want to feel in my body, not just the thing, but that there is enough. Have an abundance. When you find it, breathe it in. When you breathe in, you open up space. Your body holds emotion. It holds things. It's such a fascinating thing. Our body tells us what we are feeling before we even know it. Why? Because then we can recognize, you go, why am I feeling Like what? Heart palpitations right now. What is that even about? So that you can choose what you would love to feel. Oh, I have an abundance of emotion. I have an abundance of emotion. You know what else I have an abundance of? You do too. You have abundance of memories. Now, those of you who are sitting in a lot of trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, I hear you. I know those memories and the thoughts that encroach. And I want you to know you are not weak. You are not fighting you. You are not fighting you. There is an enemy out there that is real. If there is only one God and the law of opposition is real, then there is only one enemy, and you are not fighting yourself. You are not your own worst enemy. There is an enemy, and if you figure out how cool you are, if you figure out this abundance thing, if you figure out how to receive, it's not that God isn't giving blessings, it's that you feel guilty about receiving them. You feel like you haven't deserved them, so you're not taking them on. Your receiver is broken. We will talk some more about that principle coming up here really soon. So, today, you have an abundance of choices. When you feel something that isn't off, you don't even have to name it. Guys, I hear people all the time, I don't feel, I'm just numb. I don't know what I feel. Yeah, you can feel a little bit of discomfort. If you feel something that's discomfortable, you don't like it, then you don't have to name it. Okay? Don't name it. All you have to do is say, what would I love to feel? Find an emotion and then find a memory. Not when somebody else had it, but go back. If it's not in your near future or near past, then go way back. When is the last time? Remember a time when you felt freedom. I can always go to the trampoline, jumping up and down in the summer. Playful freedom. I know what that feels like. I can go back into those good childhood memories and find it. Okay? All right, we are done. This sounds very strange because some of you I don't know yet, but I honestly love you. It's possible for your life to be rich and full. Now, I talked about mindset training. The reason why this is a walk and talk, because what you experience from me here is what you would experience from me in class. I teach a course. I teach 3 courses actually. The one I'm talking about is Joyful Heart Mastery. You get me talking back and forth. You get to tell me I'm so confused. As we were talking, I just got a message. I talked to somebody yesterday and now she says I'm a little bit more confused than I was before. I'm so excited that she's confused. Now we're going to open up and we're going to find something. We're going to figure it out, okay? She was one of my mentees. I'm going to find some time to talk to her today. Take a course. It is my passion to lift hearts. I do. I lift hearts. I clear cobwebs from your mind. And I want to do it for you. So, please share this. If you know anybody who's sitting in lack and needs a little discussion about abundance, please really, really look around and find every place of abundance today. That's going to be my work today. Every place of abundance, I'm just going to really identify it, right? And that is it. Whew. I love you. Have a wonderful day today.